This year we are going to be focusing on the writings of Rabbi Raphael Birdugo of Maknes, 18th century in Morocco. And so every week we are going to delve into this majestic commentary, Bereshit. Starting with Bereshit, Rabbi Raphael starts with the Midrash. We have this famous Midrash that tells us the story, right? Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. In the beginning God created heaven and earth. And the Midrash tells us that in the beginning, God wanted to create the world with midat din, through through judgment. But then he realized the world had no chance in surviving, and so he created the world together with midat rachamim, with mercy. So this sort of mixture of judgment and mercy, and then the world was created. Rabbi Raphael starts and asks a beautiful question. He says, one could read this Midrash and think that the words of the Midrash are heresy. It's complete heresy. To think that we are told here that God changed his mind. God is perfect. God isn't the sort of, I think like this, then wait, I made a mistake, I should do it like this. What's going on here? So he says, what we need to understand is that the way in which the sages teach us stories, they're telling us a story. There's a point to the story, but we shouldn't take the Midrash literally. And as a result, he says the way we can understand this is that from the very beginning, God wanted to create the world, knew he was creating the world with judgment and with mercy. However, he would have wanted to create the world only with judgment. And we'll see in a moment why this is relevant. However, he knew there's no chance that the world can exist without mercy, so he created them together. How do we see this? Then Rabbi Raphael tells us beautifully. How do we see this in the very first psukim, the very first verses of the Torah? Bereshit bara Elokim et. The first few words, if you take the last letters, it's emet. Emet, truth, symbolizes judgment. This is a hint that God wanted to create the world with judgment. However, what happened when he thought of this? Ve'aretz hayta tohu vavohu. And the land was tohu vavohu, was balagan. Meaning, if you want to create the world with emet, only with judgment, you're going to get tohu vavohu. There's no chance the world will survive. And therefore, then it says, and God created light. Let there be light. What is this let there be light? Mercy. So the thought process isn't like the Midrash told us. Rather, God knew from the very beginning he wanted to be judgment. However, the world has no chance, tohu vavohu. So he created it together with mercy, with light. And this was his thought from the very beginning. Now, our next question, Rabbi Raphael asks, why do I need this? If the Midrash could have simply told me, God created the world with judgment and mercy. Why do I even need this story that tells me he first wanted it with judgment, world can't handle it, then with mercy? Just start and say he created it with a mix. For the very purpose that the way in which we should guide our lives is through an understanding that God wants the world to work through judgment. Meaning, do what you're told. Don't act in a way that you're going to wait for that mercy. You're going to wait for, you're going to go to the tzaddik. Or you're gonna go get an amulet, and you're gonna hope that through different mechanisms God will forgive you. Think of the world in a way in which God created it through only wanting judgment, and therefore you are going to get truthfully what you deserve. If you act well, you'll get rewards. If you act badly, you'll get a punishment. Don't think of this model of mercy, because that's a last resort. And he ends this beautifully, Rabbi Raphael, by telling us there are many people that want to, that they add on to their prayers more prayers, and they get amulets, and they summon angels and demons, right? This is what he sees going on around him in Maknes, in Morocco, which has become the sort of, the 18th century version of Ashkenaz from the medieval era. Everyone's using, add-ons, and he says, you want to add on, just add more actions. Do more good things, and act truthfully so that you get what you deserve, and don't think in this idea of mercy, which is a kind of last resort. Thoughts from the Torah portion of Bereshit from Rabbi Raphael Birdugo. Shabbat Shalom.